Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Daksh Lately. This video, as you would have read in the thumbnail, is my January reads. In the show, I challenge myself to do something that I do not usually like doing, which is to read more short books and short stories. So that's exactly what I did. I think I read about 11 or 12 books overall in January, but again, those are like very small books. Like maximum I hit 260. That is like the maximum number of pages I read, and most of these books were around 80 to 150 pages were like my most common sweet spot. So, without much ado, let's just get into it. Okay, the first book that I wanted to talk about, I think this is the first book that I read. I think I read it like close to like January 1 or 2. No, actually, no. I think this year I started reading books only after January 15. Till then, I was slacking off. And only around January 15, I had an idea. Okay, let me start a small book. I think I was going through something sort of a reading slump. So I decided I'll pick a small book. And that's how I just picked another. I picked another. I picked another. And this whole month, I ended up reading these small books one after the other. So the first book that I picked up was the Hunger Artist by Franz Kafka. So The Hunger Artist by Franz Kafka is like, I think it was 84 pages or something, and I don't know why no one's talking about this because Metamorphosis is like, it's so talked about and it's worth the hype, but again I felt like even this book is so worth the hype. This delves into an artist who doesn't eat and starves himself, and he locks himself up in a cage, and he puts on a show for the world, and people just come and look at him like a zoo animal, and he just sits there. He doesn't eat. He does these really long standing fasts, and he doesn't eat anything, and that's his art. That's how he projects that art, and his internal monologue and what he thinks about how he sees the world, and all of that is it. That is what the story is about. Though it was a very short read, it made me literally question what is the value of a human life. It really makes you think that. So yes, if you're going through a reading slump, if you are looking for a sort of an inspiration book, pick this book. It was a really good read. And I have to again tell you, just like I always say, I did not have physical copy of any of these books. All of these I downloaded the copy of it and I read it via my Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy with me. I'll just be adding a snippet of the clip, a picture of the book maybe for you to like see, and I'll also give you the list of books down in the description box. So the next book that I read was, okay, at this point I'm forgetting the order in which I read, so I'll just go with what I can remember. The next book that I remember reading is A Short Stay in Hell. A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck, if that's the right name of the author. But this book was about, I would say, 250-ish pages, I think. 200 to 250-ish pages. It was so good. It was really good. So the plot involves a guy in his late 30s to early 40s something, and he dies. He passes away because of a disease, and he goes to hell. And hell is nothing like he imagined, nothing like we are taught in earth about, and he finds that very strange, and he's put in a different type of hell where there is this library. It has no end and no start, and he has to figure out a book. He has to find a book that writes about, that narrates his life journey. But that library has like almost indefinite books, and he finds that it is hell for a reason only after quite a while. And the process of, like, this book talks about like grief, afterlife, the concept of afterlife, and it shocks you that afterlife could be something very different from what we imagine it to be. All our speculations are at the end just what it is, speculations. And he goes there, and the way he grieves, he meets other people who's passed away, and the way they interact after, like, in the afterlife and what they identify with. It all differs, and it was a very interesting read. Strangely, it is not a very sad book, as in it has a sad undertones to it, but you don't the vibe you get is not depressing. The vibe you get is it makes you think. It was in fact very profound, in and the narration was very strikingly very linear, and the guy talks about it in a very how do you put it? The narrator was very clean. You don't have any of these shock factor going on. The book is pretty much very linear, but I think it was very profound. It was very enlightening. It makes you think. So definitely pick this book. Okay, the next book that I want to talk about is The Ones Who Walk Away from the Omelas. So this was by Ursula, something her name was, Ursula something. And this book is just 25 pages, but it discusses an utopia whereby there is this place, there is this town or more like a village whereby people are so happy, the civilization is amazing, you have everything that a man needs, and people are just having fun, they're partying, everyone's very kind to each other, they're all very happy. It's an ultimate utopia, but the cost that the people in that society have to pay is that there is this child in the basement of this town or city or whatever, this society, whereby she has to suffer. The cost of like whatever they enjoy is that one child has to suffer. She gets no human interaction. She does not get even what a basic human being needs, and she's tortured there in that basement, and no one is ever allowed to meet her, and she cannot be brought out of that torture, because the moment she steps out of that, if someone tries to save her, this whole society collapses. So nobody knows what to do. A lot of people just, the story talks about how different people view it, and what adults tell the children, the other children, about this one child that's suffering when their children ask questions about it, and how the society in whole views it. So it was very interesting. It was a very very small story in fact, but it makes you think. It was very good actually. I mean, again, this is like something you can sit in, like read in a matter of like 15-20 minutes, so I would suggest you read it. Omelas is, by the way, the name of that town or that city. Okay, the next book that I read this year was The Vegetarian by Kang. This was in my to be read for a very, 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 very long time. And I think it won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 2024 or 2025. I'm not sure, in one of these years. And I've been wanting to read this for a very long time. And I picked this book up thinking it would be about vegetarianism, and this book in fact starts with that. It talks about a woman. It's a fiction. It delves into the life of a woman who tries to become a vegetarian, but she is a Korean, and in certain societies, in certain cultures, you can see that they consume a lot of meat, and in such a society, becoming a vegetarian is almost very, very, very taboo. And this woman, she turns into a vegetarian, and she has her own set of reasons for it. But the story starts with how her family and how the society views her very differently and corners her for the fact that she wants to be a vegetarian, and she refuses to explain, or she refuses to participate in any sort of explanation or proving a point, and she just starts embodying that, and it slowly starts there, and that's where you're wrong. This is not the whole point of the book, and then it develops into something. It sort of spirals into something more deeper. It spirals into something more existential, and at one point in the book, towards the end, the woman completely ceases to, she just rejects the experience of even being a human. This book literally gives you in a plate the horror, the violence that you are a part of, just by being a human being, just by participating in the life of being a human being. So it was very, 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 I would say not disturbing, but I've never read a book like this. It doesn't give you answers. It doesn't give you that that it will not help you make sense of things. It will just leave you with more questions and this whole big open void, and you're just left thinking like, what do I do with this? I don't know what is going on. I don't know what to question, who to question, and all of that. So this book was, I would definitely suggest you read it, but I don't know if you will find what you're looking for in it, but it will definitely leave you with more questions and you'll be thinking about that for a very long time. Okay, the next book that I read was The Little Prince. I forgot the writer's name. It's a very popular book. I made the mistake of thinking that this was a children's book. I don't think it's a children's book. It was a short read, I think around 120 to 160 pages, I think, but it was definitely not a children's book. The plot delves into a 6-year-old prince. He's the little prince, and he goes about traveling to different planets in search of something, and what he what he gains, the perspective he gains, the lessons he learns from each of these planets is something that he takes us through. And he keeps saying one thing, which is adults are so weird, I do not understand adults, is something he keeps saying. And you can see that, for instance, I'll give you a small clip snippet or something. So he goes to this one planet whereby a guy, there'll be a businessman who'll be writing down numbers, and he'll just be adding up a lot of numbers, and little prince would ask him, what are you doing, what are you adding up? And he would say, I am counting the stars and I'm making them mine. I'm trying to, like, whatever stars I pick first, those are mine. And then he says, what do you do with these stars, like what do you do after collecting them? And he says, I mean, they are mine. Like, the more stars I have, like, I'm the richer I am. And again, little prince asks, what do you do with them? If I buy a pair of t-shirt, I can wear it. Like, what use is it that you are buying these stars? Like, you cannot sell it to someone. You cannot use it to your own benefit. What are you going to do? And this guy has no answer, and he just keeps on adding, and he calls them a matter of consequence. He takes all these adults he meet, they keep saying this one thing, like, I have to take care of matters of consequence, the adult language apparently. But he constantly feels like he do not understand adults. It clearly reflects one thing, that once as we start growing up, we start running behind things that most of us don't even have an idea. We don't know why we are running behind something, and we just run behind it because that's what everyone is doing, or that we are made to believe that that is what is of importance. But at the end of the day, is that what we want? Is that actually beneficial to us? Is something that we need to ask ourselves. That's what I felt like this book made me think about. It has a very simple language, the narrative is of a 6-year-old. How hard can it be? But it was very easy to read, but I felt like it was a very beautiful book. When I was talking to my friends about it, I felt like this was one book that I kept going back to. Every single time I was talking to a friend, I found myself quoting this book a lot. So I know that this book I'll definitely reread. The next book that I read was these two were like small short stories. If you had watched my 2026 book fair haul, you would have seen that I got 2 small stories from S Ramakrishnan, who is so far my favorite writer in Tamil. It's not like I've explored a lot, but so far I find his books very likable. And these 2 books, one was Eliyin Password, and this other book was Muttalin, moondru, thalaigal. These were just small short stories, and both of these were clearly children's books, but I liked them both. I mean, Eliyin Password was just a fun read. It talks about, what if animals take over electronics? I mean, what if animals take over technology? They get themselves educated and start using technology for their own good. What would that be like? Who would they fight against? And what would their needs look like? So that's what Alien Password looks like. And the next one is Muttalin, moondru, thalaigal. Like it talks about, it has like 10 to 11 short stories, whereby like there is this town which is filled with just idiots. everyone, it is ruled by an idiot. The ministers, the king, the people, everyone are just idiots. Whole town is filled with idiots, and the kind of problems they have is like what this book talks about. And it's quite funny. Like, it sometimes, the problems they have makes you like, you find it very funny that these are problems that they sit and like talk about in the kingdom. So it's funny. I mean, I felt like kids would enjoy this a lot. So yeah, if you're planning to like gift kids books, and especially Tamil books, go for this. And the next book that I read was If Cats Disappeared from the World. I forgot the writer's name. I think it's Japanese lit. It was a Japanese writer. This book was I think about 180 pages, 150 to 180 pages. It was a short read, but this book was actually something that made my eyes tear up. It was very sad, and towards the end of the book, but I couldn't help but cry a little. It was very, very sad. So the book delves into a guy who again has a sickness, and he's in the last stages of it, and the doctor tells him that he has not many weeks to live. And he comes home and he's dealing with his own grief when the devil comes and strikes a deal with him, and it tells him, for every single day you get to live, like another day you get to live, you have to make something disappear from the world. And in that process, like for example, one day he makes clocks disappear, and there is this other day where he makes like cats disappear, just like the title says. And every single day, as he keeps making something disappear, he's just recalling his life back, like all the life he's lived so far. He's like in his 30s, mid 30s, so he's looking back at his life, and he's handling regret, grief, or he's handling the fact that his life is coming to an end, and he's making peace with it. And this happens for like a certain number of days, and it's very blatant in this book that he's going to die. But the last days and how he spends them, his interactions with the devil, and how he reflects back on his life it was a very heavy read. Actually, it was a very heavy read, but it is a very beautiful read. I would suggest pretty much every one of you to pick this book and read. Though it makes you cry, it was a very beautiful read. It makes us value the life we have a lot more. The next book that I read was The Yellow Wallpaper by, I forgot the writer's name, as usual. So in this book, this is a short book again. I think it was for 84 pages, I think 80 to 100 pages. This delves into the life of a woman who is suffering from depression, who's like diagnosed with like clinical depression. And her husband, for the well-being of hers, he puts her in a room in a very isolated house in the outskirts of the city, and she stays there with him. But she is especially restricted to one particular room. She has to stay in that room for like all day and all night. She's not allowed to go outside. She's not allowed to talk to anyone, and everyone surrounding her, they keep telling her it's for her own good, but you can see that she's clearly growing crazy. And the one element that makes it more eerie and more creepy is that there is this yellow wallpaper in her room, and it has a very unique type of pattern, and it creeps her out. She is convinced that some woman, or like many women, are hiding inside that pattern, and they are just trying to escape, and she tries to figure out what that is. And you can see that the whole book is in the form of journal entries where she writes. She's even like she's not even allowed to write, but she just sneaks her diary out of like her cupboard, and she writes when no one's in the room. And you can see from these journal entries, right from the beginning, you can slowly start seeing her that she's slipping into this madness, and by the end of the book you have a surprise waiting for you. So this was a very short read, very creepy, very eerie. It's not horror, but it gives you that uncomfortable feeling. If you're a woman, I would definitely suggest you read this. It has even elements of like female rage, which would definitely be something you may find relatable. So I'd suggest you read that. Okay, I think I saved the best for the last because I think these are the last two books that I read in January. The first book is The Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, if I'm not wrong. This book it talks about, it was again for like, I think, close to 200 pages. The book delves into the life of a woman who works at a convenience store for about 18 years and the kinds of people she meets, what her work entails, how she feels about her work, because it's predominantly monotonous, and how she feels about it, how her family feels about it, and everything. And this book also challenges uh, society's preconceptions about what a good life is. So like she sort of fails to like she it's not like she refuses to, but she doesn't participate in that, the so-called adult life where you have to get married, you have to like like you have to be educated up to a certain level, and you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to be have this amazing career, you have to look a certain way, and you need to have this certain type of friends and all of that, right? She doesn't participate in any of that, and she is pretty much an outcast everywhere. And this book delves into her life, and when you are living this, when you are seeing life through her lens, even you question what will it feel like if I stop society, participating from this so-called society. I mean, she has a good life as well. She makes money, she takes care of herself, she visits her parents, she has a friend circle, she has a normal life, but it's just that it is not in the way that everyone would expect for her to be. So this was a very comforting read actually, because if you're feeling lost in life, if you're feeling like you're not doing enough, you should read this book. It is very comforting. And the last book that I read was The Animal Farm by George Orwell. I mean, I don't have to say much about this book, it's a classic for a reason. I finally picked this book up and I read it. It talks about there is an animal farm, and the animals in that farm are treated very badly. So they decide to take over the farm, and what happens after, like they don't have a human that's owning them, that's just guiding them throughout, and they start guiding themselves. And what happens is what the book is about. Like these animals start behaving slowly, you can see that even animals start behaving like humans, something similar to humans, when they are given authority and they are given the freedom to be whoever they want. And you can see that, and it's given in the most interesting, very gradual narrative. I really enjoyed the process of reading this book. And again, this was one book I felt like I wish I had a physical copy of it. Like the first time when I read it, I wish, oh my god, I would have loved for it to be a physical copy rather than an e-copy. But it was a great read. I'm looking forward to reading more, George Orwell books in the near future. Okay, so pretty much these are the books that I read in January. I think 10 to 11 books I think I've read. These were all very short reads, and still I'm sort of proud of myself, because I was going through, all I knew was that I was going through a reading slump, and suddenly after January 15 I picked up speed and I read all these books. And I do have a list of books that I'm planning to read in February as well, and if you want, I would make a video about that as well. So this is it for this video. If you stayed till now and watched, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.